If you were a pro wrestler, what would you want your name to be?
The Statue of Liberty, and I'll have like bear stuff on me.
Special move.
Big American flag, yeah. What's my special move is going to be deportation.
Hello, and welcome to Grave Conversations, the only show where your favorite celebrities get to lie down. I'm your host, David Dastmalchian. Today's guest is someone we hope isn't in a casket again for a very long time. He is an actor, comedian, writer, and producer who has charmed audiences with his quick wit, brilliant observations, an incredible jawline. He has starred in hit shows like Welcome to Chippendales, Silicon Valley, and the incredible feature film The Big Sick. He's currently touring the country with a new hour of stand-up. Please welcome Kumail Nanjiani.
Hey.
Kumail, hi.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. I hope you're comfortable.
I honestly am not having any kind of emotional reaction to being in a coffin, but what it is reminding me of is as a kid going to a religious sermon and them telling us that when you're dead and in the coffin and they're carrying you to the graveyard, the walls of the coffin get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And I remember that terrifying me as a kid, and I haven't really thought of it since then until right now.
That's awful.
Yeah.
Who would say that to a child?
Yeah, well, they said it to a bunch of people. They didn't just pull me aside and go, hey, Kumail, we got to tell you something.
I have a segment we always start the show off with that is called Questions You Need to Answer Before You Die, or as the kids call it, quintabid, as the kids in my grandpappy used to say. Quintabid.
I'm so ready.
Okay. What kind of a person do you think is buying an iPad out of a vending machine at the Delta terminal?
Wow. The rare combination of someone with a lot of disposable income and poor decision-making skills. So I don't know how they got so much money to be able to spend it there, because they do make bad decisions. You know what? Someone who's inherited the money and they lost their phone. They've made bad decisions. Their bookstore that only sold Indian cookbooks went under. They're not even Indian, so it's bordering on cultural appropriation on a good day. And then on the way to the uncle's funeral, the one who left them all the money, they lost their phone. You can't buy a phone at the airport. That's ridiculous. Oh, look, I could buy a whole iPad with the money that I just got from the guy whose funeral I'm going to. I hope that wasn't too specific.
If you were a pro wrestler, what would you want your name to be?
You know, I feel like as a kid growing up a fan of wrestling, all the pro wrestlers who looked like me had very, I'm going to say racist, very racist names and personas, mostly bad guys. So I guess I'd like to really reverse that. I'd love to be something that's very, very like all American. So what's all American? You know, there's baseball, apple pie.
Hot dogs.
Hamburgers. I like hamburgers. I'm also hungry right now. You know what? I want to be a Statue of Liberty kind of thing.
Okay.
The Statue of Liberty, and I'll have like bear stuff on me, like a fur and
That's so good.
big paws. I'll walk in with hamburgers and
your special move.
big American flag. Yeah. What's my special move is going to be deportation.
No.
No, we don't like that.
I don't.
Okay.
Kumail, Philly cheesesteaks, are they worth it?
Can I tell you a story about Philly cheesesteaks that makes me feel like a bad person? It's the last time I had a Philly cheesesteak. But the story makes me feel like a bad person, but an association has been made that I cannot help. This wasn't in Philly, it was in Chicago. I love Philly cheesesteaks, and there was a Philly cheesesteak place in Chicago, and I went to get it. I ordered it from the young man behind the counter, and as he handed it to me, I noticed he had it wasn't a pimple, it was like a pimple's grandfather. It was like a massive boil, and it was weeping, and it had yellow pus coming out of it, dripping down his face that he had not noticed. And I noticed that as he handed me his Philly cheesesteak, which also has a lot of gooey yellow stuff in it. And I walked outside and I threw away the sandwich. And I feel bad. It wasn't the guy's fault. He has no idea. He didn't, I don't think he was rubbing my sandwich on his boils, but just the textural reminder, his face to the sandwich. And I threw it out, and I haven't had a Philly cheesesteak since then. So I guess the answer is not worth it.
Not worth it. Is there anything that you are like working on right now that makes you feel alive?
Well, yeah. I am currently writing something with my wife, Emily, and writing with her certainly makes me feel alive because she's truly a magically wonderful writer, and I'm the first person in the world that gets to read her writing. And that feels very, very special to me. I'm like, that just came from that head of yours that lays next to me every night. I love that. And I've been doing stand-up again. I didn't do it for close to 10 years, and I've been touring with stand-up. And it's a certain kind of performance itch that acting does not scratch. And I'm remembering why I used to love it so much. I'd sort of forgotten for years. I couldn't imagine that I was the person who would like get on stage and tell jokes and enjoy it. Now I'm there again, and it feels good.
Are you ready to talk about end of life, celebrations, funeral planning?
Yeah, I guess.
It said in my notes that my guest is going to enthusiastically confirm their willingness to talk about death, end of life, planning, and funerals. And you did. It's time for my favorite segment in this space that we call Death Wish. Do you know if you would want to be buried or cremated?
I think I would want to go pretty traditional and be buried, just because all my grandparents are gone, and visiting their graves has meant a lot to me. I'm glad I'm able to go there, even though, obviously you could have that experience anywhere, but just being there. So I think I would want that. I remember my grandfather passed away and I wasn't there. And then when I got there a couple of days later, I went to his grave, and that's the first time it became real that he was gone. And it was a very emotional experience, and one I'm grateful for. Grateful that I got to have that feeling visiting him. So I think if I leave behind people who love me and want to visit me, I would like to. I'd like to have a grave.
That's beautiful.
We're really covering all kinds of weeping.
Mm. Speaking of interesting people, if you could choose a historical figure to officiate your funeral, who would it be?
Like a real person, right? Because my first thought was Donatello, Ninja Turtles, not the artist. Because he was the nerd, and anybody who wants a Ninja Turtle to speak at their eulogy is gonna be a Donatello fan.
You're right.
All the Michelangelos went and got laid. Honestly, I would love to have Robin Williams speak at my funeral. Just because I'm such a fan of his work, and I got to meet him a couple of times, and he was lovely. But I feel like he's got such beautiful cry eyes. I think he'd make everyone cry, and people will think they're crying because they miss me.
I want to thank you so much for being here on Grave Conversations. And before we bury this interview, I do have one final thing that I really want to ask you to do. You're going to give your own eulogy.
Oh, I thought we got Robin Williams to do it.
But
You didn't book him?
I have some news. In lieu of, when I say die, you're going to have 60 seconds, 1 minute, to give yourself your own eulogy.
Wow, this is quite stressful.
There's nothing to stress about it. Only thing to think about the fact that you want to make sure you hit all of the big stuff. You want to make sure that it's sincere. Also make sure it's a little bit funny and poignant and incredibly well thought out. And I want you to be profound, but not preachy. This is probably the most important speech of your entire death, so I don't want you to overthink it. 3, 2, 1, die.
Wow, this place really is packed. There's one seat up front. All 5 of you can't come up here. He was very kind. He was a good friend. He was a wonderful husband. And he was modest. He didn't let his 3 Academy Awards get to his head. And good to see the 40 children whose lives he saved, which led to his own death at the age of 99. He was very patient. That's the thing I'm not, so I'm hoping that by then I've got that nailed. 0 anxiety, could sleep all night without waking up once. And had abs till the day he went. He leaves behind the world a little bit better than he found it. And he left behind stuff that when people watch it or read it, they feel a little less lonely.
Thank you. Time's up. That was beautiful. I mean, I'm confident in the 3 Academy Awards and the People's Choice Awards and the Emmys and the Tonys. But God, if we gave an award for best eulogy, Kumail, you just got it. Okay. And I've seen some good ones. You're a beautiful soul. Thank you for sharing it with me today. Okay. Bye.
Dave? Fine being here the rest of my life. Hey, honey. Gonna be late for dinner. Laying in a coffin. And a selfie for proof.
Are you comfortable?
Yeah.
You're doing great.
Oh, fuck. Okay. This is insane. I'm having an existential crisis. This is actually surreal.
Hello, and welcome to Grave Conversations, the only show where your favorite celebrities get to lie down. I'm your host, David Dastmalchian. Today's guest is someone who we hope lives for a very, very long time. He is one of my favorite people that I've gotten to know recently. He's a very dynamic actor. He's shown a lot of range in his work recently, and everything from The Boys, The Hunger Games, to Scream. Please welcome my friend, Jack Quaid.
Hello, sir.
Hi, Jack.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm doing good. First time in a coffin.
So you've never, like, in a role or on set, ever been in a casket?
No, I've been in like a coma. It's not like a full-on coma. I guess I was just like unconscious in this one scene, and I could not keep a straight face. Everything was making me laugh. It was like, you know, that kind of thing of like laughing at a funeral because you're not supposed to. Mm-hmm. But I literally wasn't supposed to like move my face. Like that was super hard to just not move my own face.
You and I could potentially get in trouble someday on set when we get giggly.
You don't strike me as Mr. Breaky Pants.
Mr. Breaky Pants was actually my nickname in high school.
Oh, man.
For totally different reasons.
This is such a huge coincidence.
It is.
It was actually my nickname in high school.
I do want to apologize in advance. I need to ask you, these are the most difficult questions you'll ever be asked in your life. These are the questions that we call questions you need to answer before you die, or quintabid, as they're saying on the TikTok.
Oh, great, quintabid. Okay.
In a land, this Hollywood land of which there is so much tinsel and artifice, you are such a breath of fresh air to me because you're one of the most authentic people I've ever gotten the privilege of meeting in
The
this
same
place.
goes for you, dude.
Well, thank you. It's all an act. Have you ever felt like you could live your whole life without ever hearing another Christopher Walken impression?
Ooh. I don't know. I feel like yeah, I could live the rest of my life without hearing one.
When's the last time you've given a high five and meant it?
I always mean a high five. Who gives a high five and doesn't mean it, I think is the better question.
Oh, I've been at the end of an awkward date and
You high-fived at the end of a date?
like when you get the vibe that like the person you're on the date with is yearning for the lean in and you're like, this is,
Oh no.
so you do the high five.
Mostly at this point in my life, I feel like it's whenever there's like a kid around. Like no kid wants to shake your hand.
Yeah.
But it's like, hey, high five, nice to meet you. Like I feel like it's that kind of a thing. And I always mean that.
I bet heaven would get boring as fuck after a while.
I agree.
You bet that too. You do.
Yeah.
Okay. When someone grabs your upper arm.
Oh, wait, that was the question?
That was the question.
Answered it?
Yeah,
Okay.
you did.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, move on. Sure. Heaven boring. Sure.
You've got great arms. When someone grabs your upper arm, do you do the thing where you try to make it tight in a super casual way in the hopes that like you do?
Oh God, do I do that? Hold on. Quick, someone grab my arm right now. See if I can actually do it. Do I? I think maybe, yeah, probably deep down there's that like teenager move of being like, yeah, I'm strong. I think I probably do it subconsciously and I don't even realize it.
I found myself recently changing into my swim trunks, getting ready to go into the pool and doing a round of push-ups before I left the bathroom.
Okay.
And then ran out and jumped to the pool and I was like, what am I doing? I'm swimming with my kids today.
Yeah, you were just like swimming. You don't need to look. I think that's very much a like, I need to be on set doing the shirtless scene that I have kind of barely prepared for thing. Where I'm like, yeah, I might as well just get a quick pump in. You haven't been preparing for weeks in the gym, but you're like, this'll make up for all of that. I think that's like an actor thing.
Always scrambling for a last second pump in.
Exactly. We're always that's when people think of you and me, they think of
Last
two guys
second pump in.
who love pumping.
And thank you so much. I'm sure that those questions just have you rethinking everything.
My entire life, yeah.
Is there anything that you're like working on right now or have worked on right now or getting ready to work on that makes you feel alive?
Yeah. First one that's coming out is a movie called Companion with our mutual friend Sophie Thatcher, who's incredible. Another movie I did called Novocaine. I shot it in South Africa where you just were. I'm sure we were staying at like the same place.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
You saw those seals?
Every day I talk to those seals.
Oh, me too.
They bring me a lot of joy. But watch out for the sea otters.
I never saw one. And there were
Signs. I saw a sea otter.
all these signs that saying like, hey, there's sea
Beware.
otters nearby. And
They
I never
will
saw one.
Fuck you up.
They'll fuck you up?
That's what the sign said, right? And
It
don't
says don't trust this
don't
guy.
interact with the sea otter. There's no warnings about the seals, but the sea otters beware. And I was like, those seals are like as big as me.
They're huge. You don't want to go anywhere near them.
They smelled, but I
They
loved
smell,
them.
but I do.
Yeah.
Exactly. I remember being like, such majestic creatures. Yeah, it wasn't a thing. But yeah, that was an action movie I did in South Africa. I had a blast doing it. It made me feel alive because it was the most physical I think I've ever been doing anything. Just, the fight sequences and really having to actually train, not just a quick pump, like a full pump.
Full pump.
That movie's full pump.
But the reason we're here today, we want to normalize conversations about death and dying. And this is a segment in the show that we call Death Wish. And it's not as scary as it sounds. How would you like to die? Oh God, that actually is a kind of intense question. How would you like to die, Jack Quaid?
Die? Obviously, surrounded by family and friends, but then I'm kind of like, is that putting them in just a weird position? Like I guess I don't want to die alone. Who does?
Dogs.
And I don't want to get eaten by anything or definitely not murdered. That'd be bad.
Do not want to be eaten by anything.
I don't want to die at the hands of anybody or anything. I think that's the thing. Like, I don't want anyone to like take pleasure in the fact that they are currently
taking your life.
taking my life. That I don't want.
Well, I can answer this question for you because my next question, which is a good one, but I can answer for you. Jack Quaid. I'm going to be Jack Quaid and Dave Dastmalchian. Ready?
Okay.
Jack Quaid, do you want to be buried, cremated, or eaten by wolves? Well, David, I certainly don't want to be eaten by wolves. So I guess I can't answer the question for you, but I could
I
take
mean,
one off the table.
here's the thing about eaten by wolves. Here's the thing about eaten by anything. It will be a cool story.
Jack Quaid died. Jack Quaid?
died.
No. The boys, Jack Quaid? Yeah. You hear what happened?
He got eaten by wolves. What?
Wolves.
Yeah, they were just like cruising down Melrose. They just found him at
How wild is it?
Golden Apple Comics.
You're an Angelino. How wild is it when you're in the wilds of Los Angeles and a freaking coyote
It's crazy.
just comes out of nowhere?
I was in Dublin recently, and I was walking down the street, and there was a full-on red fox that just like
They're gorgeous.
just like
Huge.
trounced through the town, like looking for a pub.
What do you think happens
After we die?
Yeah,
That's the question, isn't it?
it is.
I think you're right. I'm like, I'd like to go to, I guess, heaven, but like, what is that? Is that just a really boring place where everything that, it's like that Twilight Zone episode, right? Where the guy goes to what he thinks is heaven, where he gets everything he wants immediately, and then it turns out it's hell. Like that's crazy.
Infinity has messed me up since I was very young.
Me too. That freaks me out. Infinity freaks me out. I will say, I don't know. I feel like I don't really go looking for it, but in the amount of times my algorithm has just brought up some sort of segment about somebody who had a near-death experience or people who witness people having a near-death experience, usually what they say is something overwhelmingly positive, and that is something that really does comfort me. Like they usually say like, it felt very warm and nice and not too warm, because that's the other place. But it felt very like warm and nice and peaceful, and like they were going somewhere where everything felt okay. I don't think it's necessarily you become a ghost or anything, but I do also sometimes believe in ghosts, so I don't know.
If you
I don't
could,
fear it,
if you could
necessarily.
attend your own funeral, but as like a ghost,
Oh, I'd love that.
would you do that? Yeah, me too.
Oh my God, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
What's the point of a funeral if you can't haunt it?
Well, Jack, you're really great, and I am very thankful that you've been here on Grave Conversations. Before we let this amazing conversation and interview, if you will, expire naturally, I have one final thing I would like to ask you to do, please.
Please.
Please, Jack, give your own eulogy. It is spelled out. Y-O-U, logy.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Why are you logic? Got it.
Yeah. So when I'm gonna say the word die to you, and then you'll have 60 seconds. So it's plenty of time to cover all the big stuff, your life, what it meant, what it was about, make it sincere and yet light, make it perfect. Also keep it really loose, but I don't want you to overthink it. I just want you to nail it.
Okay.
You ready?
You
3,
just want me to nail it?
2, 1, die.
What's up, y'all? So this is Jack talking about Jack. He was a guy who I'd say he's arguably too tall. He could have shaved an inch off. He tried. He really did. Oh fuck. Okay. What do I say about him? I don't know what to say about myself.
I can speak on your behalf for a second, because one of the wonderful things about it's your funeral. I'll definitely be long dead before you are, so I get to pop up there because I'm a ghost now.
Oh,
and
cool.
I'll be like, you know what was one of the wonderful things about Jack Quaid? When he first met you, he made you feel accepted. He made you feel like you belonged. And I think one of the great curses of the human mind's problems with itself is that we're often telling ourselves that we're like alone, that we're not accepted, that we don't belong. That's something to be really proud of.
Okay, I'm gonna amend my eulogy. Hi everyone at Jack Quaid's funeral. We're going to play David Dastmalchian's Grave Conversations episode. What is this?
201?
We don't know when they're gonna air, but we're gonna play that. Everything that David Dastmalchian says, what Jack throws to him about his own eulogy. I hope that 25% of that is true with everybody here. Thank you, man. That was really nice.
You did. You absolutely did. And I love you for it. Well,
Love you, man. Thank you for having me.
that was beautiful. You are a...
What you said was beautiful. I just copied your answer. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Casket.
When we reach the end of one of these conversations, I often don't really know how to end things, so I just like to say, you're a beautiful soul. Thank you for sharing it with me today. Bye.
Oh. Why does this keep happening to me?
People who meet you, complete strangers. Oh my God, hey, I know you, and they've seen you in these extreme states of distress. You're so good at it.
Thank you.
Let's do it together sometime.
I would love to chase you
Thank you.
and pursue you.
Thank you, Lauren.
Yes.
Thank you. Hello, and welcome to Grave Conversations, the only show where your favorite celebrities get to lie down. I'm your host, David Dastmalchian. Today's guest is someone that we hope lives for a very, very long time. So watch out, Scream Queens, because there is a new bit of royalty in town. She is the breakout star of Terrifier 2 and Terrifier 3, who, along with Art the Clown, has been turning heads, and he's been turning stomachs for the last few Halloweens. Please welcome the incredible Lauren LaVera. Hi, Lauren.
Hi, David. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. I feel like you've been in planes, trains, and automobiles, and all the way across the country to be laying in a casket. How does it feel?
It feels surprisingly springy. Like I feel like I could bounce in here, which is strange because I don't think corpses need to bounce. But I'm surprisingly comfortable. Not unsurprisingly, actually. I had a feeling this would feel good. It feels right.
We first met in person on the Boulet Brothers Dragula. Do you remember that?
Of course I do.
You
I still
came
have the selfies.
so correct. You had the coolest look. I was so impressed. I was like, Lauren got the assignment.
Thank you. Actually, that outfit, and I will always mention this, was made for Lady Gaga by a friend of mine, a dear friend of mine, Christian de Medici. And he designed that outfit, and me and Lady Gaga were the same size.
This outfit actually was made for Gaga.
Seriously?
I wish. We are unfortunately not the same size. Well, thank you for being here. Are you ready to get cooked by some hard-hitting questions?
I am ready.
Okay, this is a segment that we call Questions You Need to Answer Before You Die, or Quintabid.
Let's go.
The Ninja Turtles would wear those bands across their eyes to hide their identity. When you think about it, isn't that kind of ridiculous?
I think it's sexy. And I don't know if it's why I've always thought the Ninja Turtles were sexy. That could be a me problem. It could either be a character flaw or...
Nope.
That's what I thought.
You have it's a common sentiment shared by others, people that you know, even people that are dear to us feel the same way as you. I'm very impressed with that answer.
Good, because
do you have a favorite?
Gosh.
I'll say Leonardo. I like Donatello, but for personal reasons.
I think Donatello.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's hard. I have to see them on a lineup with their
Yeah.
sexy face masks.
If you were a bagel, what flavor would you be?
I would be an everything bagel because I'm indecisive.
I'd be an everything bagel too. I think you're going to disagree with this question based on conversations we've had in the past. So please know I didn't write this question. Lauren, you ever notice how good you look in the mirror of an airplane bathroom? Why do you think that is?
Oh, God. I came from the airplane this morning, and I have never looked worse in my life.
There it is. Yeah, I thought that's what you were going to say.
My life. I am a ghoul.
I look like a troll when I'm in an airplane.
A troll, and I smell, and everything, the worst parts about me come out when I look at myself in the airplane bathroom.
Do you know what? I always have a look on my face when I look at myself in the bathroom mirror of an airplane, and it's a look of disgust. And it's not mad at myself. I'm always mad that even though we're however many thousand feet in the sky, and I know things can be a little shaky, there's no excuse for the amount of urine on the floor of an airplane bathroom. Is there anything that you're working on right now or that you've worked on recently that makes you feel alive?
Yeah, I'm working on The Monster right now, which is directed by Darren Lynn Bousman, and I'll be working with Jaimin Hanzu, and he's a lovely person and a lovely actor. And it's a role that I was talking to my acting coach about. It scares me because it's so far away from me, and that makes me feel alive when I get to make decisions that are different from my own, and I get to just be different and take chances. And I think that's where growth happens. So I've been feeling like I've taken flight, and I really like that.
The reason we're here today is to normalize conversations about death and dying. This is going really well, thank you. Are you ready to talk about end of life, like celebrations and funeral planning and good stuff like that?
I am. I'm really excited about this.
Great. This is a segment that we call Death Wish. How would you like to die?
I would like to go out in an interesting way, or even a way, and this is just the ego in me, I'd like to go out doing something like, I don't know, drown while I'm like...
I was gonna say, like, you're saving someone from drowning and then you drown.
And then I drown. Yeah, exactly. Like,
some kid is about to be eaten by a shark.
Yeah.
You jump overboard, you miraculously hoist that child up to safety just as
they get me, but not before I can get a good punch at the shark's nose.
That's where you're supposed to hit it. Did you know that?
And I did know that.
Yeah. Hit him in the nose.
Yeah.
How often do you think about death, dying, stuff like that?
I try to think about it more often as I inch closer to death, because I guess every moment we're inching closer to death. And now that I've experienced more death in my life as I've grown older, and I try to embrace it more, because I truly have an appreciation for the now and the present when I do think very deeply about death. And lately I've been thinking about death a lot because my cat passed away two months ago now.
I'm sorry.
Animal death is such an interesting one because it feels different than human death in the sense that they're so dependent on you that they feel like children in a way. So that pain is like so sharp. And I try to stay in that space as long as I can so I can try to process these feelings, because we don't feel them very often. So lately I've been trying to look at it directly in the eye as much as I can.
Do you ever like daydream about funeral planning for yourself, or even like do you literally funeral plan for yourself?
I haven't literally done it, but I've always played with the idea, and I don't know, the closer I get to death, the more I wonder if it's a good idea, donating my body to science, just to see, because what am I gonna do with the body that I'm not inhabiting anymore? I'm like, maybe it can go to do something good. But I also really like the idea of cremation. It's such a beautiful thought, and having your ashes sprinkled somewhere beautiful, or like I've even heard of people like planting their ashes or something. So I don't know, I'm still playing with the idea, but whatever is easiest for the people around me, and I've made that very clear to my loved ones. Whatever feels right for you in that moment, this is what I think, but I don't need this body anymore, so it won't offend me in death.
What do you think happens after you die?
I think about this often. I like the idea of reincarnation. That's something I've always gravitated towards. I like the idea of being more enlightened with each life, because I feel like I've met people that are just way beyond their years, whether that be intelligence-wise or emotional intelligence, or just so many areas of their lives. And I meet people like that. I'm like, what is it that you have that is so interesting? And I want that. So I feel like I'm in the infancy of my own, if reincarnation is actually a thing. I feel like I'd be like only like 3 or 4 people in.
Just getting started.
Just getting started.
If you could give your funeral a theme, what would it be?
I'd really want people to dance. So I don't know what kind of theme. I love spooky things. So I think I'd want it to be kind of like a Halloween theme or a goth theme.
A
but
Halloween hop.
Halloween hop. They get to dance and dress up.
We're gonna all do the monster mash.
Yes!
I'm into it. We get to do the thriller dance. And there's actually a corpse. Thank you for taking the time to fly across the country to stop your busy schedule for a moment just to lay side by side with me here on Grave Conversations. Now, before we move into our final chapter, before we let this interview expire naturally, if you will, I do have one final thing I would love for you to do, if you'd be so willing. Would you give me your own eulogy? It's spelled out Y-O-U, logy. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, I totally
great.
get it.
So what I'll do is say, die, and then you'll have 60 seconds to give yourself your own eulogy. And ready, 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1, die.
Oh, God. Yeah, right. Lauren LaVera, what a guy. She loved her family and her friends very deeply, probably more than she ever expressed to them. She loved her job, and with that, she hoped to embolden people to be brave and to be the true versions of themselves and to not take shit from anybody. She encouraged people to dance as often as they could, even if they're not good. In fact, if you weren't good, she encouraged you even more to dance and to like play and to create and to just have fun. She held many grudges and took them all to her grave. She was a tired girl, so if you're mourning her, don't, because she was probably ready. She was exhausted, and she will haunt your dreams. Amen.
Amen. Lauren LaVera, she finally got that nap. That was amazing. Thank you. Time is up. Our time is up. That was beautiful. You are a beautiful soul. Thank you so much for sharing it with me today. Okay. Bye.
Thanks. Okay. Wow. My butt actually kind of hurts now. Okay, myself. Cool. All right. That's fine. Okay, no, it's okay. I got it. Total. Cool. Okay.
I want every person I've ever met in my life to be at my funeral. I want tears. I want speeches. I want songs sung in my honor by Grammy winners. I want it to be truly devastating.
Hello, and welcome to Grave Conversations, the only show where your favorite celebrities get to lie down. I'm your host, David Dastmalchian. Today's guest is someone that we hope lives for a very long time. She is the pop powerhouse with a voice as vibrant as her infectious energy. Her latest album, Big, and her incredible dance moves have brought joy to countless millions. Please welcome the fabulous Betty Who.
Thanks for having me, David.
Are you comfortable?
I think I am adjusting to this lifestyle.
It's a new sensation, isn't it?
Lying down is nice. Little known fact about me, I have bone spurs in my feet, and so standing hurts all the time. So this is actually ideal for me.
Bone spurs, something that affects dancing?
Yeah, I call them my feet teeth. They jut out of my heels, and they make everything painful all the time. I probably need to get them sawed off in a surgery, but you know, that's why I'm lying down today. So
I don't want to make light, but I'm assuming we don't brush or floss our feet teeth.
No, but
Okay.
I do like the idea of that.
Betty, please know that I am being forced, against my will, to ask you a series of impossibly challenging questions. After this, you and I will be very different.
Okay.
This is a segment called Questions You Need to Answer Before You Die, or as the graphics team calls it, Quintabit. If you could be invisible for one day, what do you think you would do?
I mean, I want to say rob somebody or someplace, probably corporate America in some fashion. Tiffany's, I don't know, it feels kind of like a 90s place to go steal things from, but...
Betty who? Diamond thief. Betty, if your life was a pre-existing movie title, so this is a movie that has been made and produced and been out in the world, any movie that's been made before.
There is a Tom Hanks movie called Big.
No, I'm not joking. I was impulsively going to make a joke after whatever you said, and I was just going to say mine would be Big.
And you would be right about that.
There's a childlike quality about you, as well as I like to think myself.
I think that creative people, a lot of the time, are honoring that part of themselves, because so often it's the young person who goes, I don't know why I love this thing, but I love it, and you do it, and you want to pursue it, and see if it could actually be you. And I think that young creative people are silly enough to think that we could be one in a million. And I have tried to connect back to the part of me that was very young, as you're saying, that like wanted to do it in the first place and believed I could do it in the first place. That feels such a powerful energy that I'm always trying to connect to again.
Thank you. That was a great Quintabit round. I'm sure that those questions have you rethinking everything and questioning all. Is there anything that maybe, I don't know, you're working on right now that makes you feel alive?
I'll be totally honest with you, since we're in a very honest space here. It's been really hard for me to want to make new music for a while. I think I just, I worked really hard on my last record, on Big, and I'm really proud of it. But it took a little something from me that I have been trying to figure out how to get back. And I've been trying not to force it, trying not to spook myself, you know? And I just recently made a couple songs that made me go like, okay, we're both creative people who do many things.
Yeah.
We have so many multitudes. And I've been focusing a lot on my other things.
If you do at some point choose to share what it is that you're cooking up with the rest of us, I look forward to enjoying it.
I'm sure I will, and I'll make sure I send you an advanced copy, David.
The reason that we're here today ultimately is to normalize conversations about death and dying. Are you ready to talk about end-of-life celebrations, funeral planning?
Sure.
Now it's time for a segment that we call Death Wish. How would you like to die?
Painlessly. But I wouldn't mind going out in sort of a dramatic fashion. You know, I think that a little bit of drama in death would be very exciting. But I don't want it to be long and slow and painful.
No. And isn't it inherently kind of dramatic anyway? It's like, this is the final bow.
Yeah, like
so it's like, if I'm just
literal
laying
death, yeah.
in a papasan, comfortably snuggled in a blankie,
Yeah.
it's still dramatic. It's like,
Yeah, because then like, come find me, sis. Like, you know.
man, that's it.
Discover my body. Yeah, that is a little dramatic just in itself.
This is interesting because for me, it changes and evolves depending where I'm at in my life. But how often, right now, would you say, do you think about death and dying?
I don't think about my death. I think about my loved one's death, and I fear it. And I think it's not something you can outrun, and it's, you know, it comes for us all. So there's nothing you can do about it, and I think worrying about it is only going to take away the time that you have while you're alive. Plenty of time to worry about death once you're dead. I don't know if you have fears about dying before I accomplish all the things I want to accomplish. That's my big fear about death.
Have you ever done any funeral planning for yourself?
I go back and forth between what I'd really like to happen at my funeral. On days I'm feeling particularly benevolent, I think I want everyone to have a big party and have a great time. But most of the time, I want so many people there. I want every person I've ever met in my life to be at my funeral. I want everyone to be so impossibly sad. I want everyone to not know how they could go on without me for at least an hour. I want tears. I want speeches. I want songs sung in my honor by Grammy winners. You know, I want it to be truly devastating. And then, you know, after a reasonable amount of mourning, people will, you know, learn how to go on without me, but I want it to be difficult.
Of course, you said an hour. I'm good for a week. Yeah. I mean, I want there to be gnashing of teeth and kvetching and keening. I want someone to throw themselves on the casket.
Yes, please.
If there's a portrait of me, someone to collapse into it. I want there to be numerous people with black veils on, and no one knows who they are. I want
morning suits, you know,
Do you know if you would want to be buried, cremated, or eaten by wolves?
It's not the last one. I'll go ahead and tell you it's not going to be eaten by wolves. Okay. Although my dog does look like a wolf, so there's a part of me that goes, Jimmy's going to eat me? Okay. So, you know, I could be convinced probably. But I think I want to be cremated. That's how most people that I have loved who have passed on. That's the experience I've had with most of them. But I don't want to be a follower, you know what I mean? It doesn't have to be that. I do kind of love the idea that graveyards are sort of like, you know, like an apartment building that everybody lives in. And you're sort of like, oh, that's my neighbor, you know, Sharon, and, you know, she was 85 and she's a little kooky, but I like her, you know. Everybody's sort of in the afterlife just like kicking it, you know?
Gary
having some
in
martinis.
his weird shorts.
Yeah, weird shorts. Why buried in shorts, you know?
Pull those up for us. If you were a ghost, do you think that you would haunt? I mean, is haunting even a choice for ghosts? Do you think just by existing, they're technically like haunting? Is it their nature?
I feel like the ghosts being is because they haven't been able to cross over, right? That's like the lore of ghosts, is that they're here because they have unfinished business.
Something's holding them back to this plane.
So if I would love to be a silly little ghost. I would love to keep all my friends on their toes, make them laugh, you know, knock stuff over. A cheeky ghost. I don't want to be a scary ghost. I want to be a fun, sexy little, you know, maybe like I would love to fall in love with a human man in my ghost form, but he's the only one who can see me, like that Mark Ruffalo and Reese Witherspoon movie. I think that would be really an exciting time.
Be a naughty ghost. Thank you so much for being here on Grave Conversations. Before we let this interview expire, get it, naturally, I do have one final thing I want to ask you to do. Please give your own eulogy. It's
nice.
spelled out
Y-O-U.
Y-O-U.
Yeah.
You got it.
Yeah, I am with you.
Legy.
Okay.
So when I say die, you're going to have 60 seconds to give yourself your own eulogy.
It's timed. Okay, sure.
Yeah, 60 seconds. When I say die, think, don't overthink it. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1, die.
Betty Who achieved many things. You know, she did her best. I think that that's important for us to all understand and to know. For all that she's done, you know, her haunting melodies, her graveyard tunes, I think that her greatest achievement was to love the ones that she loved, the way that she loved them. And that feels earnest and real and right. And, you know, we're all proud of her for that, and we will miss being loved by her so much that let's all collectively throw ourselves on her coffin in mourning and sadness.
Time's up. And our time is up. That was beautiful. You are a beautiful soul, Betty.
You're beautiful. David, shut up.
Okay, bye.
It's just me now, huh?
Don't close me in, okay? I don't want to be closed in. I'm happy that he's happy, but I don't think I want that.
Can I put in a request for the next casket adventure that I think I need an extra long one? Do you know that when I was in boarding school in grade 7, they had to make me an extra long bed because none of the beds were long enough for me. So I'm feeling a little triggered, to be honest.
I was a small Jewish redheaded boy named Seth in the early 80s. My life, and I wanted to like sing and dance and make movies. I was not popular.
Hello, and welcome to Grave Conversations, the only show where your favorite celebrities get to lie down. I'm your host, David Dastmalchian. Today's guest is someone that we hope is going to live forever. He is a multi-talented actor, writer, producer, ranging from Buffy the Vampire Slayer to Austin Powers to Can't Hardly Wait, changed the television landscape forever with Robot Chicken from Stupid Buddy Studios. Please welcome the one and only, my dear friend, Seth Green. Hi.
Hi, buddy.
How are you?
I'm good. This is so comfortable.
Is this the first time you've ever lain in a casket?
My buddy Breckenmeyer actually got a casket when he was a teenager and used it as a bed for a couple of years, which I still find so funny. He did it completely sincerely.
That's amazing.
But I always imagine him bringing girls back to that. Just being like, no, I'm totally cool. Get in my casket.
It depends on the person. I'm assuming some people might be like, oh, wow. And some people will be like, oh, wow. Yeah, there's a whole different slew of reactions possible for that.
It's true. This was the 90s, and the goth movement was still really alive and well.
It's not anymore?
Maybe I should have said thriving.
Thank you. Seth, you've been interviewed so many times, probably at least a half a dozen. But this is Grave Conversations. So I'm going to not only ask you the questions that we think you've never answered before, I'm going to ask you questions that we're certain you've never answered before. This is a segment we call Questions That You Need to Answer Before You Die, or quintabid, as the kids call it, quintabid. First quintabid of the day. When you put a soda can in your recycling, do you crush it with your hand first, or do you just toss it in, damn the space?
I crush it with my hand, but I don't collapse it entirely, which I could.
Yeah.
I could, I'm strong enough.
Have you ever been to Omaha, Nebraska?
I don't think I have.
Have you ever been in a fist fight?
Yeah. I grew up in West Philadelphia. I've been in so many fist fights. I was a small Jewish redheaded boy named Seth in the early 80s. My life, and I wanted to like sing and dance and make movies. I was not popular. Oh my God, I had hippie parents. One who had spent like years in Europe, and so she sent me to school in my sister's feminine hand-me-downs, and I wore shit like wooden clogs to school with no socks. My life was hell until I was 16 and moved away.
Oh.
Yeah, fist fights. I mean, if you call it that, you basically get assaulted by a bunch of kids. I try to fight back like where I can. That's why I learned to be like use my size to my advantage, use my access and my speed to my advantage to overtake someone much larger and more determined than me.
What is the most overrated animal?
I know people put elephants up there. I mean, I support it. What does overrated really mean?
I was about to say, don't be talking no shit on those elephants, man.
It's gotta be something else, right? Like
Yeah.
overrated is like a koala.
They're falsely presented.
We've had koala encounters when we were in Australia at the zoo. They organized that. And they're scary, man.
Yeah, man, they can
They
take
look
you
at you and they mean it, and they've got like real sharp things happening in their mouth.
out. They look at you and they mean it.
Yeah, when they look at you, they're like,
That was hard-hitting. Those questions were tough. I know I throw them at you like,
Yeah.
Major League Baseball pitcher on the mound. But before we get further into the reason we're here, which is, well, what is the reason we're here? Oh, I don't want to go down that. That's a tangent. But death. We're talking about death today, but before that, let's talk about life. Is there anything that you're working on now that makes you feel particularly alive?
yeah, I've been really excited about a few things for a while. I guess I can't really, none of them are in a place to discuss.
Okay.
But that's been really like working towards, as with anything creative, when you have an idea and you're at the place of adding all the things to it that it needs so it can exist. That's an exciting and inspiring and often defeating and challenging space.
Now that all of the hard questions are out of the way,
Yeah.
it's time to normalize conversations about death and dying. Are you ready to talk about end of life, celebrations, funeral planning? My favorite segment that we're entering in now is called Death Wish. How often do you think about death and dying?
I think I spent a good amount of it when I was young, and these days I don't. You know, there's so much that we just don't know, right? And I can only spend so much worry on things that are unknowable.
Yeah.
And so I like to put my focus and energy on the things that I can do to make my life and the lives of the people around me better, happier, more joyful, less full of worry and conflict.
You do it too. Do you know if you want to be buried or cremated or eaten by wolves?
When Claire and I talk about what kind of monument we would leave in our place, the only thought is leaving a place where your kids or family could visit, right? Because there's something meaningful in having, whether it's a headstone or the thing I really liked is the idea of putting a bench and a tree, right? I'd heard that there's ways to use your remains to plant a tree, and having a small plot that our families could visit. That seems like a pretty cool thing.
What do you think happens to us after we die?
Well, I heard the most wonderful thing Keanu Reeves mused: when we are gone, the people who love us will miss us. And beyond that, it's really unknowable, right? I mean, everybody's got hopes. I've certainly thought about it or had experiences with psychedelics or other kind of influences that gave me what I imagine is a similar sensation, like a sense of total connectivity to all knowable things in space, in the infinite galaxies and universes. You know, some kind of reabsorption into the literal fabric of space and time.
I love that. I love it because I think sometimes about how, for whatever reason, there seems to be this undefinable, relentless, insidious force in the universe that seems completely compelled and driven to convincing each of us that we're alone on this journey. And obviously, I believe we're not. And I think one of the great things we are called upon to do in this life is to connect with one another, remind one another we're not alone. It's a gift of being a storyteller, because when you tell a story really well, people can see a reflection of themselves, hopefully, in it.
You know, we each get our very individual experience. So we each really are confined to the inside of our own mind, of our own consciousness, and the way that we can observe ourselves or observe other people. And so to that degree, there is a loneliness that's inevitable in anyone's experience, just because you can only hug so hard. You can only feel so connected. And then you have to contend with this undeniable truth that it's just you in there, you know? And what I find comforting about that is that realization that there isn't something more complicated, there isn't something larger behind the voice that is telling me, hey, watch out for that, or like, hey, maybe you should do something nice for yourself, or hey, maybe you should consider this other person in your decisions. That voice is you. That voice is you. And you are able to give yourself love and care and forgiveness and understanding. And in that, you find the freedom, the comfort, the safety to really let yourself know someone else and let someone else get to know you, which is the choice, right? That's the choice. You got to decide to let anybody get to know you or to really get to know anybody else.
Now, before time runs out, I have one final thing I would like for you to do, please.
Okay.
Give your own eulogy. It's spelled out Y-O-U-logy. Eulogy. Do you get it? Do you understand?
I do.
Okay, great. Awesome. When I say die, you'll have 60 seconds. This is probably, well, no, it is in fact the most important speech of your entire death. I don't want you to overthink it though. 3, 2, 1, die.
When I was very young, the thing that I found the most desirable was to be thought of as a good person, somebody that made the world nicer instead of shittier. And I have really spent my whole life in service to that principle, using the skills that I've acquired and what I felt were my best and most productive qualities. I did my best. I lived the hell out of life, went and saw as much as I could, learned as much as I could, shared and spread as much as I could. And then I worked really, really hard and tried to be nice to everybody. So, see you later.
Our time is up, but it's not, because we're going to hang out probably really soon.
Yeah.
Play games together and be nerds together.
Isn't that the best?
But thanks for hanging out in a casket with me today.
Thanks for inviting me.
Oh man, what an honor. That was amazing.
Yeah, this is fun, getting a burial with you.
As much as I wish this conversation could keep going forever and ever, I guess I just have to say bye.
All things end. God, napping is really one of the best skills I had picked up.